Facebook and YouTube. So that was
Good morning, YouTube. And today,
We're also on Facebook.
it's
Yep,
somebody's
we're live.
birthday somewhere. Anyways, today's, yeah.
That didn't go anywhere.
The camera's still on Faith. I think.
Oh, it is on me?
Yeah.
Like, actually? Oh, my bad, guys. Hi, what's up? What's poppin'?
Good morning, Oklahoma.
Wait,
And today, we're discussing why I have tuberculosis. Anyways.
Can you mute Sean?
Can we mute Sean? Let's just.
I can't. Why are you asking me? I don't have the sound.
Why?
Are you going to do the intro?
Oh, hey, guys, what's up? This is the Youth Podcast.
Can't believe you
Glad
did
you
the
made
intro.
it. Glad you're watching.
Should do the patented intro.
Yeah. Anyways, so I'm in charge of today's topic, guys, and today's topic is kind of a controversial one. We're gonna talk about indifferences. Is a kind of good one. Judgment, similarities. What?
Yeah, that's what indifferences are.
Differences. Yeah. Well, it's all in one. So, same thing. And judgment on others. Yeah. Okay. All right. So, the first question that I want to lead into today is, in general, what comes to mind when you think of the older Adventist group? When you think of older people in, let's just say, church, not necessarily this church, but in church, what comes to mind?
Pews.
Okay.
Pews.
For me personally, when I think of like older people, I think of judgmental, and I know that's gonna hurt a lot of people, a lot of our older generation who is watching this. And I'm not saying this applies to everyone. I'm not saying this is for everyone, but I definitely know a lot of the older generation who is very, very judgmental. Trevor?
I generally think of conservative.
It's a good one. Michael?
I mean, I don't know. This could be considered kind of a cop-out answer, but
Even though there's two people who do
Okay,
tech for
okay, we're
half the
back.
youth.
We're back?
Like,
No.
Roberty. Again, I said Roberty.
It's Roberty.
Hey.
Never have ever.
Somebody call Mr. A.
Yeah. Ooh. The severe technical difficulties.
Yeah, Mr. A will fix it for us.
Mr. A.
Figures.
Call Brandon too. Just have him.
Just have him, like, reach through the phone and just touch the screen.
Stops the
Where's the
podcast, starts over. Should we do that? Should we do that?
Should we actually?
Because, like, there's just, like, a It's at least 5 minutes.
Yeah, you just hear me going. And then I'm talking about Mr. A and Brandon and me not paying attention.
Is it
to
unplugged?
Spanish. So guys, guess what?
that supposed to be
Anna
on?
here made it to where our final is optional.
It
Is
was
that
the
supposed to
whole
be
senior
on?
class, actually. But yeah, I did.
What?
That was Anna alone.
It's because, like, we were talking to, like, Mr. A, and we were like, hey, like, what's the point of taking the final if you have an
Oh, we
A in
have-
the class already? You know what I mean?
We have Sean and Trevor back.
Let's go to the hood. What's
Did the camera die?
Back.
or something? I don't know,
Hold
man.
up, we're back.
We're back?
We're back.
We're
Alright.
Huh?
That's like a solid 3
It's on me.
minutes.
Okay, awesome.
Oh,
So-
So,
Should we start over?
Hi, guys.
Should we start over?
I think we got the first part of it right.
We got. Okay, all right.
Just
So,
edit out the middle part.
maybe just repeat the first question.
Okay.
so the first question that was asked was,
no,
Pull back the mic. We can hear you breathing.
because it's like.
you're like, anyway, in general, what comes to mind when you think of the older Adventist society? That was the.
I said pews.
Yeah, I said judgmental.
Speaking to the mic.
I said judgmental.
Conservative.
Old.
Wow.
Well, what have
You
you
said
said? It
him.
was just a joke compared to yours. I didn't.
said
That wasn't
him.
my actual answer.
Okay, then what's your actual answer?
Old.
Okay, Sean says old. Michael
Yeah.
says.
I feel like generalized.
Okay. All right. So the next question is, what are ways we can open up the older generations, not necessarily just them, but people of the church? How can we open up their minds for change?
I mean, like, whose minds are we really kind of opening up? Because I think it's kind of surprising to me, anyways, how many people's minds actually are open, but considering how much they're generalized with a certain group, that oftentimes the people that we think are closed-minded might actually be a little more open-minded than we think. But I still think the question stands as just in general, but I'm not trying to derail.
I think if we want to, like, if we're just thinking the group of people whose minds aren't open to change, like, and they truly aren't open to change yet, a way that we could is just, like, maybe showing them, like, the benefits of change. Because I think a lot of the times people are, if they aren't for change, it's because they're scared of change and, like, what change entails. Because, like, you've been going along with, like, you've been going along with how things are for so long, and nothing's, like, burnt down and nothing's, like, totally, like, derailed yet. So, like, why is there need for change? But, like, if we maybe show them the benefits of what could happen with change, maybe it would open their mind a little bit more.
Do you guys have any say on this or any ideas?
Honestly, I just kind of agree with her.
Okay.
Honestly, not really. I just kind of agree with Anna.
Yes, yes, man.
Trevor, do you have any input on this?
I don't know. I don't always think change is a good thing.
Okay,
'Cause-
say this change is a good change. It's not necessarily one thing or another. Say just we're trying to change the church for good, and not for bad, and we want people to be okay with it. How would we?
No, but I wanna. Sorry. before we go on to that, I wanna know, like, what you were gonna say. Like, what how can change, like, in what circumstance can change, like, not be good?
I think there are a lot of systems that have been good, and the reason they've stuck around for so long is because they're a good thing. A lot of people just seem to want to tear down old systems because they think they're bad, just because they're old, not because they're different. Or worse.
Okay. How do you personally accept change? Whether it's good or bad.
For the most part. for the most part, I'd say that I'd probably welcome it. If it is bad, I'd probably say something against it, or just say that I'm like not in total agreement with it, but just basically voice my opinion as to whether I'd like it or not. But yeah, for the most part, I'd probably just welcome it.
I mean, for me, I think that sometimes, well, like all the time, I'm somebody who thinks that change is inevitable, like as like time changes, because time is gonna change. Then like things are just like naturally gonna change. That's what I think personally. So sometimes I can allow myself to get swept away with the change, like I wasn't ready for it, and then I'm like forced to like get accustomed to it. And in that case, I don't really know how I accept change. I kind of just like deal with it. And other times I'm like in the forerunners, like I'm the one that's pushing it, like, oh, I want this change, so I'm gonna like I've already accepted it, now I'm gonna like cause it, you know what I mean?
Also, I'm just a little confused on what you mean by like accept change. Like, does it mean like when change comes, how do you handle the change, or like, or is it like how you view change?
A little bit of both.
I mean, I think things are always going to be changing, and I don't think it's always going to be changing for the better. But at the same time, I know that if everything stays stagnant, it's going to die off eventually. So most of the time, I'll welcome change, even if I don't necessarily like it. You know, why try to make the worst of a circumstance, you know? Also, I just wanted to add to this, since we are on a church-based Christian podcast, do you have, is there any input on, like, what the Bible says about opening people's minds to change that you know of? Or even how the Bible talks about accepting change, or how to deal with change?
That's a really, really good question. And me personally, I don't think I have read enough of the subject of change in the Bible. I've definitely read about like love, and I feel like it doesn't necessarily have to do with that, but I feel like if we just put our trust in God, whether it's a good change or bad change, everything's going to be okay in the end. So, I don't know.
I mean, well, not really like, usually whenever I think of the Bible, I think of stories, because that's what I grew up with. So, if I'm thinking about stories of change, I can think of stories with good change, like the change in the people of Nineveh. Like they changed their ways and stuff, and like that saved them. And then I also think of bad change in like Sodom and Gomorrah, where they changed for the bad and it destroyed them. So
It changed for the dead.
yeah, it wasn't the best. So that's what I think of when I think of change in the Bible. No, I don't think I can think of anything. There probably is, but not off the top of my head, where there's like verses where Jesus like gives advice about change.
I'm not necessarily saying like what Jesus specifically has to say about change, but like, I don't know, when I think of the Bible and change and just like moving forward in general, I think it is kind of what goes back to what Faith said. It's reiterated many times that God has a plan for us, and you know, has a plan for everything, which includes all of the systems, workings in our life. And I think it's just important to keep God in mind when we're making these changes, and trust Him with these changes, and realize that a lot of the stuff isn't happening of our own power.
Do you guys have any input that you want to say or add?
No is okay.
And yeah, no is okay. If you don't have anything, that is perfectly okay.
I was just looking up Bible verses on line of verses about change. A lot of them just basically said the same thing, that the Lord is forever or whatever, but there was one that just said that something about the new creation is here, the old is gone and the new is here, or to stay or whatever, something like that. But yeah.
Okay. Should we judge individuals on their past? Whether they go to church, whether they don't, whether they're religious, whether they're not, whether they're whatever, whether they've been to jail, whether they haven't, whatever. Should we judge them on their past?
I think somebody's past says a lot about that person, but I think whenever I meet a person, I look to their past normally as like a way to get to know them, but not a way to necessarily judge them. Like, I usually like to judge people on what their current actions are. So like, I judge people on their actions, but like the ones from which that I like know them to do. Like, if I met you and you used to be like a drug dealer, and like now, like, I heard about you being a drug dealer, and I'm like, oh yeah, like that was something about his past. And then like I meet you and you're doing like all these things that has nothing to do with a drug dealer, you know, like that stuff. I like to judge people like based on their actions from when I know them, but like the past isn't something that like I judge them on necessarily. It's mostly something that I use to learn about them, or like learn about their lives, or like how it like made them who they are today. You know what I mean?
Does their past make you treat them differently?
Not necessarily, unless I see that like their past is affecting their present. Ew, that's deep. Ugh.
It's okay. That's what we like on this podcast.
Like if your past is like doing something to you like mentally, or like it's like a starter for like any like problem actions, like stuff that's like bad, or even stuff that's good, then I'm like, oh yeah, that was because of your past. But like, I'm not gonna be like, just because you did this in your past, like this is who you are. You know what I mean?
I think it all depends on what exactly happened in their past, and if they did something really bad, if they apologized and were truly sorry for what they did. Because if they never apologize for example, like murder, like if they don't apologize to the victim's family, and they aren't truly sorry, then I feel like you shouldn't have to treat them differently, because if they aren't sorry for their past, then it's still with them.
And I think that like that's something that would show in their actions in the present, because like I get what you mean. Like sometimes there's like people who like commit like murder, and then they don't apologize, and then you see that in like the way that they act. Like you see that they're not remorseful, you see that they're sometimes aggressive, sometimes still cunning, like they're cocky usually, sometimes, you know what I mean, like they're cocky, and like you can see that in their like present lifestyle and actions. And so yeah, but like if somebody like, even if like, to me, even if they didn't get the opportunity to apologize, they're like remorseful, you know what I mean? Actually, I guess that's what you're saying, right? Yeah. So yeah, I agree.
For me personally, it kind of goes off what you guys were saying, but I try to look for if they're trying to better themselves, or if they're trying to change their perspective on life, or whatever the case may be, even if it's something as simple as they're a liar. I mean, if they're trying to change, if they're trying to get better, and if they're open about their past, and if they're like not trying to hide it, then I would judge them differently, as if they were like really, really secretive about their past, or if they weren't trying to change it at all.
So
I still think though, like sometimes people are like secretive about their past, not because they like haven't changed, but maybe it could be that they're embarrassed of how they were, or like or they fear that somebody will judge them just based on their past and not like how they are like in the present or whatever. You know what I mean? So.
And this could just be me, but first off, I'm not a huge fan of the word judge in the first place. Like, I think I understand what you're saying, but I mean, in my mind, I'm just kind of saying, should I really be judging anyone? And I get the gist of the question, but I just want to make the distinction between like judging and how we treat someone, right?
Yeah.
Because, you know, if we look at like Jesus in the Bible, right? He treated everybody with the love and compassion, you know, I mean, of Jesus. There's really nothing to compare him to in that, but he treated everybody of that regardless whether or not they were, you know, a sinner, repented, whatever, right? So but as far as how we treat someone based on their past, I think I do agree a lot with what they're doing now, right? Because the Bible talks a lot about showing mercy and forgiveness, but I don't think that means turning a blind eye, right? So if this person is known for stealing, that doesn't mean they come to me, say they're sorry, and I say, oh, that's okay, and then leave like expensive stuff out easily where they could walk out the door with it, right? I just find a little bit of a disconnect there. You know, I'm willing to give the person another chance to prove themselves and say, hey, I have changed. You know, and I mean, it's kind of the same thing with claiming God and like as a Christian, right? You can walk around and say, hey, I love God all you want, but if you're not showing that, do you really love God and have you really claimed him as, you know, your God, your Savior?
Yeah. I have this verse. It's Matthew 7. It's the NIV version. It says, do not judge, or you too will be judged. For in the same way you judged others, you will be judged, and with the measure you use it will be measured to you. I definitely agree with you in not treating a person away in like that has to do with their past. I think you should definitely show kindness to all people, no matter if they murdered someone, no matter if they lied, no matter if whatever the case may be. It all goes back to, you don't know what they're dealing with deep down inside. You don't know what's happening in their life. And if you can see, not necessarily even if you can't see a change in their life, that doesn't give you a right to just be mean to them or to talk about them behind their back or whatever. I feel like you should show everyone kindness even if they don't really deserve it, if that makes any sense at all. Another question that I had is, how do you think we can bring in LGBTQ members, ex-convicts, whatever? How do you think we can bring those people into church and feel welcome? How do we take that first step in saying, hey, our church isn't perfect, like we're not perfect, but we accept you and we want you to know Jesus just like we know Jesus? How do you think we need to reach out, or what do you think we need to do to get there?
Define accept you.
Accept you as a person, not necessarily the sin that they're doing, not necessarily their past, but we acknowledge that you want to love Jesus just as much as we do. Yeah.
I feel like it's a matter of showing love, right? Because that's really how like Jesus gained his following, you know? You look at you know, like everywhere he went, he attracted the messed up, you know, the people who the Jewish leaders had rejected as unholy, unrighteous, the whole 9 yards with that, because he showed love and treated them as a normal person. You know, it wasn't a matter of, oh, you're not keeping my laws, so you can't come in. Oh, you're not doing this what we believe, so you can't come follow me. It was a thing of, like, do you want to be saved? Do you want to follow me? If so, then follow me.
A lot of it requires like either empathy, compassion, or sympathy. You know, you can't just look at a person, see their past and determine whether or not they're accepted or not. You have to see yourself in their shoes, how you would feel if you weren't accepted or anything, and then you can make the right judgment as to, like, you know, and obviously it'd be to welcome them with open arms, not just to shun them away just for doing one bad thing or bad things in their past. So
this is I think specifically what I'm gonna answer specifically for LGBTQ plus, because like whenever I know, like, the thing that we say as a church is love the sinner, not the sin, and like hate the sin, not the sinner. But I think even that, like, with people who are in that LGBTQ plus community, it kind of like, it'll like turn them off, because it's like nobody likes to be called like a sinner all the time, especially like for something that you can't help. Like, I know for me, like, I'm accustomed to being called a sinner because like I lie and I like covet stuff, but like that's all stuff that I can like control pretty fairly easily, you know. Like, I'm not a compulsive liar, I'm not a kleptomaniac, I'm not like, it's not hard for me to control like lying or like coveting stuff or being jealous or like gluttony or whatever. But like for somebody who's like gay or lesbian, like, it's like incredibly hard for them to control that. Like, to them, that's who they are. And so like whenever we like, I don't know if I have a solution for it, because it's hard, because like according to the Bible and like the teachings of the church, it's like a sin. But calling like somebody like they're who they are, like you're like who you are as a sinner, as opposed to what you're doing as a sinner, I feel like the severity and like the hurtfulness in that is like a lot greater. So I think it's really hard for them. So I don't know how to fix it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't really know.
Yeah. Anyone else have anything to add on that? Trevor, do you have anything to add on that?
Could you repeat the question?
How do I word this? What is a good solution to trying to show like LGBTQ members or ex-convicts or even other religions, like how do we welcome them into our church?
Probably just be around them and just show them how God and how the church is affecting your life in a positive light. And then if they start noticing things like that, like, hey, you seem really happy, you seem really fulfilled, could you tell me about this church thing? Then you start bringing them into the church, but let them ask.
So don't force
like,
it upon them.
Yeah, just pretty much be an example of what the church can do to a person. And then if they ask about it, answer their questions.
Okay. All right. What would be a good outreach that we could do to the people that we talked about, whether it's other religions, LGBTQ plus, ex-convicts? What would be a good outreach to try to help those people or try to welcome those people?
For the convict side, I actually am not 100% sure if the Adventist church does this, but I know there are churches who have like I guess this isn't really ex-convicts, yeah, but there's like prison ministries.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that's not ex-convicts, but it is kind of along the same line, you know. But I think for the most part, I think really the most effective thing we can do is just what Trevor was talking about, and live Christ-like, you know, because to me, what I'm thinking of off the top of my head, the people who hated and opposed Christ the most, those were the peoples whose power was in jeopardy. It wasn't anybody going up to Christ and being like, how dare you call me this, that, you know, that's, you know, who I am, blah, 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 and then they go away because of that, you know. So I think modeling Christ's behavior and what we are really trying to live as is the most effective way, and getting to know them on a personal level and just being able to talk about it when it comes up.
I'd also say inviting them to things, you know, like Cafe Youth, which is coming up next week, right?
Next Saturday.
Next Saturday. Next Saturday?
Like tomorrow.
The
8th.
next Saturday, yeah.
8th?
Well, anyways, like,
May 8th, yep.
yeah. Well,
Wow.
inviting people to stuff like that can definitely help, not just for like evangelistic purposes, but you know, it can be like, this is some of the stuff that we do in our church. It's very entertaining, very full of worship. Yeah, it's like, you know, just show them a little bit of what goes on in the church. You don't have to invite them to like an entire sermon or anything. You can, but like, you know, show stuff. Just, yeah. Forgive them your word for it if they trust you, you know, just, yeah.
All right, if in one word, how would you describe being Christ-like?
Loving.
Selfless.
Unconditional.
All the good ones are already taken.
It doesn't have to be
Yeah.
different.
Yeah, I was just gonna say loving.
I think forgiving is a really good one too. Whether someone deserves our forgiveness or they don't. I feel like if we are really truly Christian, we should show mercy to those who don't deserve it, who aren't trying to better themselves, or even if they are, we should try showing mercy. And I feel like once we start loving others and start showing mercy, I feel like our lives personally and our connection with God is going to get closer.
Also, I just want to like reiterate, like, in any circumstance, forgiveness doesn't mean like pardon. I don't know. Like, forgiveness doesn't mean like, well, like, I guess it does mean pardon, but like
Acceptance.
forgiveness
Are you
doesn't
saying,
mean
like,
not accountability.
Acceptance, that was a good word.
No, because it does
Are you
mean
saying, like-
acceptance of like what they did, but it doesn't mean that like you don't have to hold them accountable.
Are you saying like forgiveness shouldn't be forgetting, but like,
Well, it
Not
could
forgetting.
be forgetting, but like forgiveness doesn't have to be like you could forget. I don't know. You know, like example.
It's not like turning a blind eye.
Yeah, it's not turning a
Okay.
blind eye, because like if somebody does something that like really hurts you, you can forgive them.
but you won't forget
And-
about it. It'll always be like,
It doesn't
Yeah,
mean
yeah.
you're okay with it, and it doesn't mean that it was right or that
But
it
you still
was
forget
whatever.
it.
Yeah, like
but
if somebody
you
does
forgive them
something-
for doing that.
Yes. If somebody like betrays my trust,
Yeah.
like I can forgive them for betraying my trust, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to trust them with things like in the future. You know
And,
what I mean?
and at that point, I feel like you would go through the stage of trying to rebuild trust. And if
Yeah.
they really, really wanted your trust back, they would definitely try to build up that trust again.
Yeah.
All right. Does anyone have any last? What?
Oh, it's dead.
okay.
Oh, okay. So, thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. Cafe Youth is May 8th at 6:30. 6:30?
6.
6. My bad.
6 to 9.
My bad. 6 to
Yeah.
9. Yes. Come see us. We're gonna have drinks. We're gonna have snacks. We're gonna have a good time. Party with us.
Yeah.
Party. Adventist party.
rocking in the house.
Anyways, if you have any comments, questions, concerns, or topic ideas that you want us to talk about, comment down below.
Tell it to Pastor Nick.
Or comment down below.
Yeah.
Or let us know.
Or let us
Yeah,
know.
do that.
If
We
you guys
talked,
need
I think.
anything, contact us.
Contact.
I can English. Contact us. We'll talk. We'll pray with you guys. Whatever you guys want. I hope you have a good rest of the day, rest of the week. See maybe some of you on Saturday.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Be loving.
Love one another.